Charlie Foxtrot, CQDX, CQDX, CQDX10. Was that Kilo 3 Echo Charlie? I may have got that wrong. I heard the Kilo 3, wasn't sure about the rest of the prefix, but the name this side is Mark. That's Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo, and I'm just 15 miles southeast of the city of London. So I'll give you a report on the next over. Kilo 3, possible Echo Charlie. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot.
Fox from Kilo 3, X-Ray Charlie, Kilo 3, X-Ray Charlie. Name is Ryan, Radio Yankee Alpha November. I am 30 miles from Seattle, Washington on the West Coast. You're about a 5x7 with me, Mark QSL.
Oh, thank you for that, Ryan, and I'm very pleased to meet you on the West Coast today. I think you're my first West Coast contact since the beginning of the year. But you're about 5 and 5 to me, 5 and 5, a little bit of QSB. Today I'm using an IC-7300. I'm using just 100 watts, and the antenna is a 5/8 wave vertical antenna, so radiates everywhere, but I'd imagine, and it's just a guess, that part of my signal is coming across the Arctic Circle and then back down to the West Coast. That's just my take on it. So Kilo 3, X-Ray Charlie, Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox.
Roger, Mike 0, Japan Charlie Fox, Kilo 3, X-Ray Charlie. Well, you're doing a great job. Thank you for the 5x5. I am running on this side a very old Fox Tango 2000. I have the amp on about 1.5 kW and running a 9/9 stack. I just switched in my lower 9. The stack's at 67 and 111. The lower antenna actually started picking up better, and so I think the propagation started to open up with a higher angle. But I am pointed slightly over the pole right now, Mark. M0, Japan Charlie Fox, K3XC.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, and thanks for pointing your antenna in roughly my direction. It's always good when you hear of someone who's got a monster antenna system, because you know then that despite the propagation conditions, the signal's probably going to be good. I mean, 9/9 is fantastic. I just wish I had a garden big enough to take the tower that would handle that, but no, I'm afraid I've got a typical English garden. It's 85 feet long and probably about, I don't know, 25-30 feet wide, so just on the side of the house is the 5/8 wave. But you know, it's all good stuff, and that FT2000 sounding rather good. But yeah, 1.5 kilowatts into the 9/9, and I think you said only the lower 9 was being used. I'm just wondering if you know what the ERP is from that, if you know the gain of that lower beam, and if you know what the ERP is. I'd be quite interested, because it sounds like it's going to be a lot of watts coming my way. Ryan, back to you.
Yeah, Roger. M0, JCF, K3XC. Right now I'm running both antennas. It's changing drastically in terms of which one's better. So I just swapped them both in there. I'm not sure the ERP. The gain is over 10 dB, and the amplifier is putting another 10 dB plus. And so it's about 20 dB over a 100-watt signal. I didn't do the math in my head, but it's a fair amount of ERP high. And my lot's pretty small too. I just put the tower up. I just completed it yesterday. The tower each section is 185 pounds. It's solid steel legs. So it's a very heavy tower with the booms on these antennas are 44 feet. So both beams are 44 feet there. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It sounds impressive. I just looked at your QRZ page, and I don't believe there I could see antennas. I'm going to take another look at that. Oh, sorry, I was just logging you then in both my paper logbook and QRZ. I see you've got a beautiful countryside around you, and I can see obviously, you know, fir trees absolutely everywhere. It looks like a Bob Ross painting, which is one of the things I do as another hobby. And yeah, I was just seeing if I could see that antenna, but not. But you got some fantastic outlook there, Ryan. Yeah, all things aside, so we're talking 20 dB gain. Well, 10 dB gain would be is that 15 kilowatts? So yeah, maybe 30 kilowatts. I don't know. I'll have to, yeah, I'll have to reacquaint myself with the mathematics. But 10 dB is I think is 10 times the power. I know 3 dB is double, so we're double, and a bit more. Yeah, I could work it out by doing it the long way round in my head, but I can't sort of work out mathematics, talk to you and look at that spectacular scenery around you. I've been to Northern California, that's as close as I've got to Washington, so I've been in the redwood forests of Northern California, so I do sort of got an idea of what it maybe looks like around your way. But there you go, I'm rambling on, Ryan. Back to you. K3XC M0 JCF.
Yeah, fine business, Mark. M0 JCF from K3XC. I don't have any photos of the antennas up yet. I just finished, so I need to put some antenna photos up. But it's a heck of a lot of aluminum. And yeah, the crazy thing is the aluminum is all shorter than the trees. The trees are 130 to 140 feet tall, and they're all second generation trees. They were logged about 100 years ago, so the trees are 100 years old and they're 140 feet tall. So lots of big things that grow here. It's very, very wet. I think the big difference between here and Northern California is it gets a little bit colder and it gets a lot wetter up here. And so a lot of things go really fast. I am just on the outskirts of the big metropolitan area. If you go closer to the city, it gets very, very populated. And if you go just east of me, it goes over to mile-high passes where it's just you and trees. So I'm right on the outskirts of it and very close to the nature. Well, thanks for the contact, Mark. I appreciate the contact, and hopefully you can make a couple more here. 0 JCF K3XC.
Yeah, K3XCM0 JCF. Well, Ryan, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you. As I say, I think you're my first West Coast contact since the equinox, or just before the equinox, when propagation opened up across the Atlantic. And say the last time would have been around February, March time. So it's always good, you know, to tick those boxes. It would have been nicer if you'd have lived in Montana or a few other states that I haven't got, maybe Alaska. So next time you speak to me, if you could ship absolutely everything up to Alaska and beam my way, that would be very much appreciated. But all joking aside, fantastic to get you in the logbook, and for the first time, regardless of where you live. And yeah, I'm always running my mouth off on 10 meters and 12 meters, Ryan. So point in my direction, you'll probably find me rabbiting on and going on and on and on. And you know, when you do, just come and say hello, and we'll do it again. Best 73 to everyone around you, and as I say, glorious countryside you've got around you. And I do like the history lesson of the trees around you, 100-year-old trees. It's absolutely fantastic. But you know, the shipbuilding industry doesn't need it so much now, so luckily they may stay around for a lot longer. Unlike where I live, it's all oak, beech and sycamore and sweet chestnut, horse chestnut, and it was all the trees around me, the woodlands around me, were all established for Henry VIII and his navies when they built everything out of old hardwoods and such. So anyway, we'll talk about it again another time. I know you was going on, and as I said, I have got an alligator mouth, so I do let it run away sometimes. Sorry about that, Ryan. K3XCM0 JCF, you take care. Good luck, 73.
Mark, well, it's fun because I can change antennas on your phone, and just install the board. Sometimes you're like 5152, and other times you're almost 59 plus, so very nice propagation. And I have not worked Europe on 10 meters, so very nice to work with you on 10 meters from Slow. I grew up on the East Coast, that's why I have the recall. And of course, I don't live far away from any of the states you mentioned. I go to Alaska and I go to Montana. I've been to both several times, so maybe next time you can work me mobile if I have a mobile station with me, Mark. Thanks again for the contact, and hopefully we can chat in the near future. Hopefully 10 meter stays open. M0 JCF K3XC.
Yeah, no problem. That would be awesome if you did that, but I would suspect that in those two states you would have an almighty pile up. So yeah, you'll have to listen for me. Take care. Bye bye, old friend.
Thank you, 73.
QRZ, Mike 0, Juliet, Charlie, Foxtrot, southeast of England. Nothing is heard. CQ. Okay, still only got Kilo Delta 4 Lima. Your signal's a little bit low for me, just using a 5/8 wave vertical. But my name is Mark, that's Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo, and I'm just 15 miles southeast of the City of London. So let's try and get that call sign, and I'll try to give you a meaningful report today. I do appreciate the effort and your patience. Back to you, Kilo Delta 4 Lima. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot.
London, Washington, Germany. A lot of QSC, but you see about a 5-4 to 5-5. The name here is Eric, Echo Romeo, Charlie. Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay, Eric, I've got you almost. I'm just missing the last letter now, Eric, but I've got the Kilo Delta 4 London, Washington, and I'm sure an advanced search on the QRZ would probably fill that in for me. But yeah, you're probably about a 3-1 at the moment. I do have a little bit of local QR Mexico that comes and goes, and it looks like it's decided to come at completely the wrong time now. But I'm using IC-7300. I'm using 100 watts from the back of the radio, and let's say the antenna is just a 5/8 wave vertical. So I'll try to improve upon that report. But I'm looking at the QRZ advanced search, and I believe I've got Kilo Delta 4 Lima Whiskey Golf. So at the moment, I'd call that a 4-1, just a 4-1, as I didn't truly hear the call sign, Eric. Back to you, Kilo Delta 4 Lima Whiskey Golf. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox. Yeah, Kilo Delta 4 Lima Whiskey Golf, Eric in Tennessee. Really difficult to hear you, Eric. It's not improving on the 4-1. In fact, it goes the other way. I really appreciate the effort today, but I don't want to hold you up and waste your time, because I know you'll give me lots of interesting information and I just won't hear it today. But I do appreciate the effort. I do appreciate your patience and your persistence, and I look forward to working with you when the conditions are better between us and we can have a proper long QSO, and we'll put the world right next time. So all the very best to you, Eric. Take care, good luck, 73 to the family, and until the next time, bye bye for now, old friend.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, these conditions were better too. But yeah, we take each other further down the line. Please protect the team. As well. This is
Thanks, Eric. I much appreciate it. And yeah, as you say, catch you further down the log. I got that bit nice and clear, not the rest of it though. But I do appreciate the effort. Always good, always fun. We wouldn't do it otherwise. CQ, CQDX, CQ, CQDX, 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 CQDX. Here is Mike 0, Juliet, Charlie, Foxtrot. 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 Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, 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 CQDX10.
November 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, this is Uniform Romeo 5, Foxtrot, Quebec, Foxtrot.
Okay, uniform station, please stand by, sir. Please stand by. November 4 station, you were first to call in but got swamped. So let's find out who you are, please. The November 4 station, please go ahead.
Okay, November 4, Radio Alpha Tango. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. November 4, Romeo Alpha Tango. As is always the case, several people call in. I heard the November 4 and then straight after that the stronger signal came in, but that was absolutely no problems. My name is Mark, that's Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo, and I'm about 15 miles southeast of the City of London, and I'll give you a report on the next over. And there's no mistaking that call sign, is there? So we'll find out who you are, where you are, but fantastic call sign. And you live in a fantastic state, Florida, one of my favourites to visit. So let's go with November 4, Romeo Alpha Tango. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot.
All right, Mark. Yeah, here's Alpha Tango. And we're in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, Central Florida, Tampa Bay. And I have you as solid 5.5. The 10 meters is a nickel jam. When it's working, but then it drops out. So I'm glad to hear some activity on 10 meters today. Back to you.
Yeah, no problem. November 4, Romeo Alpha Tango, Pat in the Tampa Bay area. I know it very well, or reasonably well, Pat. Thanks for the 5 and 5. You're peaking about 5 and 3 to me today. And yeah, the United States definitely open coast to coast for me. I have worked the East Coast. I've worked through Tennessee, and the furthest west was Washington State. And now I've got you right down there in the south of the United States, and Florida. I know we don't count it as the south, but you're the most south that I've had so far today, if that makes sense. I'm rambling, but yeah, Tampa Bay, the last time I was in that area was 2023, October 2023, Pat, and my wife and I, we stayed at Clearwater Beach, or just south of Clearwater Beach, on Sand Key and Madeira Beach, around that way. I'm sure you know it very, very well. And we used to venture across the bridges back up to, the various shops and things, and then we flew home via Tampa Airport. So as I say, we sort of know that general area. We've been going there for many, many years for holidays. But today, I suppose more importantly, Pat, is I'm using an IC-7300. I'm using 100 watts from the back of the radio, and the antenna is a 5/8 wave vertical. So that's the story on that long ramble. November 4, Romeo Alpha Tango. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox.
It across the pond, as you say. I am also just running 100 watts right now. My amplifier gave up the ghost after almost 30 years. And I'm looking around to see what kind of amplifier I'm going to purchase. But as far as the beaches go, Madeira Beach, I'm about 6-7 days away from Madeira Beach, right around the corner from me. I know Clearwater Beach very well. I know Madeira Beach very well. I'm only 15 kilometers from here, about 3 miles. We're about 1.9 miles, maybe 3 kilometers from the beaches here. We're in a little city called Seminole, but that's where we
Absolutely, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well, I can say that I'm very familiar with the Interstate 4 and the 275. There you go. I know those two roads very well. So I sort of, I could almost steer you around to the various Walmarts and other shops. It's that's where we sort of frequent quite a lot when we're shopping, when we're down that way. Well, it's I hope it's a fantastic weather there today. We've got a bit of a mixed bag. It's not too bad for autumn. We've got a temperature of about 15 degrees Celsius, which is around the low 60s, high 50s Fahrenheit. And so for us, that's quite warm. I would imagine that Florida is still very warm at this time. We've had broken cloud today. It was a beautiful morning this morning. I was up quite early. I saw the sunrise and the planet Venus. So that's how I knew that we was going to have a good clear morning. But it's the southeast of England. Our weather can change at the flick of a switch, and we could end up just like Florida, pouring with rain, and then next thing you know, the sun shines back out. So that's the story, Pat. N4 RATM0 JCF.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me see here. Let me check, some other things going on right here. Okay, it's about 29 degrees Celsius here. It's overcast. I just cut the yard this morning, and I was humidity's up at 85%. Oh, and also, I guess we had a crazy hurricane come by here, and now I'm understanding that hurricane took a turn, and it's heading across the Atlantic. We're talking about it affecting the Azores and also into Portugal. So, I don't know, that's weird. Finally, a hurricane finally made it to Europe. How about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we call them hurricanes here. We probably call them, well, we give them silly names now, but they're always storms of some sort. I remember in 1987, I was out in Florida when Hurricane Floyd came across. We was in Fort Lauderdale at the time, and Hurricane Floyd switched itself from a hurricane to a tropical storm. It was quite exciting, because that was my first time in the USA in 1987, and it became a tropical storm. Then, of course, while I was on holiday there, the storm decided to cross the Atlantic, and that's when it hit the United Kingdom it hit England in the south and caused absolute devastation. And it caused me to have a 10-hour delay coming home from Florida. And that's the nearest we've got to a hurricane. They quite often refer it to the hurricane or the storm of 87, blah, 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 But I don't know that we get true hurricanes down here. But I think we do get the back end of a lot of your hurricanes. They tend to go up the east coast, then cross the North Atlantic as a big storm, and then we get the remnants of it. And but what's in the name? Bad weather is bad weather. Pat, back to you.
Okay, N4RAT with Mike 0 JCF. Yeah, well, what is it? It all depends which hemisphere, north or south. You've got hurricanes, tropical cyclones. I can't remember the other one, but different names. They all do the same thing. We're still recovering from a year ago. We got hurricanes back to back. That was wild. I lost about half my roof. Well, not half. Let's say about a third of my roof got tore off the house, and I lost the boom to the quad on the first hurricane. First hurricane wasn't supposed to be bad. It was bad. Second one was really bad. We had 101 mile an hour winds here in my neighborhood. Somebody's weather station recorded that, so I'm glad they're not hitting us this year. I feel sorry for everybody else. After living through hurricanes, they're not fun. I don't wish it upon anybody, but I guess that's what happens when you live in sunny Florida. I guess back to you.
Yeah, typhoons is what they have in the southern south of the equator, isn't it? Is it typhoons? I may be wrong about that. And you get cyclones, and then you get anticyclones. I think a lot of our big storms are anticyclonic. They circle around a low pressure system, but I'm no meteorologist, so I don't know. There was something else I was going to say. Yeah, those two hurricanes last year, back to back. See, I've got friends that live in Orlando, so luckily so far inland, they get the wind, but they don't get the other devastation. And I know that the storm surges were immense along the Mexican Gulf Coast last year. And having been to Clearwater area on in 2023, and I like to watch various webcams, etc., in the Florida area, and you could see, the devastation happening in real time on the webcams. It was quite upsetting for 2024 to have that much devastation. And then afterwards, I know a lot of the Mexican Gulf Coast, from the Nature Coast down towards Naples, appeared to be closed off to the public because the roads were impassable due to sand that had come from the beach onto the roads. There was literally sand dunes all along the coastal roads around that area. And it was quite heartbreaking to see. But I think the thing with the people that live in hurricane areas and tornado areas and places like that, they bounce back very, very quickly. Admittedly, your insurance premiums must be astronomical, but at least you're a little bit further inland. As I say, on the coastal routes, the storm surge was literally breaking people's houses, even those that had stilts, to raise the houses up. They were suffering just as much as everyone else. Yeah, quite heartbreaking to watch. Pat, back to you.
Yeah, it was last year. My sister-in-law, she took on several feet of water. The water was waist deep. She evacuated. They live on the water. And then my wife, a good friend of my wife, her husband, they live out there on Treasure Island, which is the beaches. And they didn't think it was going to be that bad. And then they got trapped. The water just started coming in the doors, and it was rising real quick. I mean, it blew doors in, it blew the garage door in, and they had a pickup truck. And they ended up having to climb into the back bed of the pickup truck and spend the night in the pickup truck because the house was underwater. So it was pretty bad down here, back to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, that sounds it sounds very innovative, but you could probably do without it. But living in the back of a pickup truck while your house is underwater, that doesn't sound like fun to me. And Treasure Island, I've actually stayed there. My wife and I stayed there probably about 93, 94, something like that. We actually stayed on Treasure Island, and it's very nice, very picturesque. In fact, we spent our honeymoon in Naples. That was in 95. So the dates are all a bit mixed up now, but I've done quite a big piece of Florida down that coast over the years. And when we'd gone with our daughters, when our daughters came along, right up till 2018, we always go to Orlando because if you're going to go to Florida, Orlando's the place for the fun and everything. But then you need some downtime before coming home. So we always head to the Mexican Gulf Coast. I do have friends that live in Port St. Lucie on the Atlantic coast. I think that's just south of Fort Lauderdale. So I've got some friends that live around that area as well. And they don't seem to suffer with the storms as much, or rather, you maybe it's just I just don't hear of it because, you know, living where I live, you know, sometimes we hear about hurricanes, we think, just another hurricane, you know, you expect it. If you're going to live in Florida, expect the hurricanes. But yeah, I don't think the Atlantic coast, and maybe I'm wrong about this, they just don't get that sort of devastation. But that said, you know, I think a few years ago, I was watching various webcams around the Fort Lauderdale area, and I think a few hurricanes were nearby or just passed through. And yeah, it doesn't matter, I suppose, at the end of the day. If there's going to be damage, there's going to be damage. It's never going to be good, Pat. Back to you.
No, I remember speaking of the Atlantic side. That was back in 1992. I just bought my house here, and I was here in my house, and I was off from work. I had a week off, and that was perfect because it was good time for me to get moved in, situated in the house. And that's when that Category 5 Hurricane Andrew hit Miami. My God, they talk about an atomic bomb going off. That's what it looked like. It looked like a nuclear bomb went off down in Homestead and just leveled everything. It was terrible. Back to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I do remember Hurricane Andrew, actually. I do remember the news reports and everything. But yeah, I mean, we think we get it bad sometimes in the southeast of England, and we do. We sometimes get, you know, winds approaching like 70, 80 miles an hour, but literally it lasts for just a few hours, and we do moan about, you know, the weather in England a hell of a lot. I think that is a national pastime, is to moan about the weather here. But, you know, when we think of how you've got it there, and when you look at the southern states, the Midwest, you know, Tornado Alley and places like that, that to me seems even worse, because at least with the hurricane, you can sort of prepare for it. You know, it's a big system, you know where it is, you know where it's going, and you get constant updates. With those enormous great tornadoes, etc., I mean, they completely wipe out whole towns or big parts of whole towns, you know. And yeah, I think I'd take the hurricane anytime over the tornado. So I know you also get tornadoes in Florida, but I don't know, have you had much experience of the tornadoes? Pat, back to you.
Okay, well, tornadoes, yes, we get our fair share of tornadoes. Excuse me. Nothing like the Midwest. But we do get storm tornadoes during the last hurricane. A lot of tornado outbreaks down in the south part of Florida. We didn't know about it. We didn't know about the tornado outbreak. They were down by West Palm Beach area, lots of tornadoes, because at that time we were worried about our house. We weren't even thinking about Fort Lauderdale, but we're thinking about ourselves. But yeah, it's tornadoes. But like you said, hurricanes. You get a lot of the damn warnings. I don't know how people out in California, West Coast, earthquakes, there's no warning. I mean, boom, nice sunny day, minding your own business, boom, earthquake. At least here, we do get a heads up, and we do prepare as much as we can. But, there's only so much preparation you can do. We're going to get so bad that you're going to have to leave. Never had to leave yet, but, keeping our fingers crossed. Back to you.
Yeah, I understand everything that you're saying. Well, yeah, you can cross your fingers, but at the end of the day, so long as you've got the information and you can prepare for it, that's the best you can do. And as you say, you haven't had to leave yet, but of course that is always an option. People in Hurricane Alley, they don't even get that option. Likewise, as you say, with the earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. Yeah, there's not always a lot of advance warning there. But anyway, I think I think we've had a very interesting conversation. As I say, it's always good when I speak to people from Florida, Pat, because I can relate to it, and that's the difference. You know, I've been to California, I've been to Arizona, I've been to Nevada, a few other places, and I can relate to the people there in a certain way. And but Florida, I can really relate to the people. As I say, having been there many times, you know, it's easy to visualize who you are, where you are, and what's going on. So it's always really interesting. But at this moment, I've got to disappear now. I've just seen the clock. We're just approaching 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So I'm going to have to disappear. My wife and I need to go and walk our dog. We'll go to the local woods or the local park, and we'll walk the dog, and then we'll think about having our evening meal. So it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, and a real privilege as well, because as I say, having been in that area and then talk to somebody who really knows the area, that has been more interesting than the actual amateur radio side. You know, it's always fantastic when you can talk to people outside of amateur radio and get to a good feeling of who they are, where they are, and what they do. And I think you've given me that today, Pat. It's been a real interesting and somewhat eye-opening insight as to, you know, someone who lives in your area. So I'm going to wish you very best 73, Pat. As I say, I could carry this on for hours, but I shouldn't really. As I say, I need to go now. We have sunset in about an hour and a half or so, so we like to get the dog walking, etc., out of the way before sunset, and then say think about evening dinner. So can I say 73, good luck. Always find me on 10 metres, sometimes on 12, calling CQ, and I do look forward to you picking me up again, and we'll do it all over again. So Pat, I'll hand it back to you for a final, and say good luck, take care, very best 73, and I'll keep my eye on those webcams for you, and be sure to shout out when I know there's a hurricane moving up the coast, but I'm sure you'll know that long before me. November 4, Romeo Alpha Tango, this is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox.
Okay then, Mark. Yeah, I'll look you up around next hurricane season. I'll get some insight from you. Okay, so the pleasure's been on this end. Not often here on the band to get to have a conversation like this. Not too often. Definitely, like I said, once again, pleasure was on this end. And hope you and your wife have a pleasant evening, and that's a good idea. I gotta go see what Mama's up to, see what the YL needs anything. So, okay, Mike, 73. Hopefully I'll catch you again soon. November 4, Radio Alpha Tango. Have a fantastic weekend, Mark.
I really appreciate that, and thanks for the good wishes, Pat. I say it was an outstanding pleasure to speak to you, and I'm not just saying that. It's really interesting. This is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, going QRT. Apologies to anyone who called me and I didn't speak to you today. I do appreciate the call-ins. Unfortunately, I found Pat far too interesting to send him on his way too soon. All joking aside, Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, now QRT. This frequency is clear for use. This frequency is clear for use.